Hey guys, so today we're checking out the Old Man Emu Dakar heavy load rear leaf spring for 2 3/4 inches of lift, fitting all 2005 and newer Toyota Tacomas. Now, these rear leaf springs are going to be for the Tacoma owner who is looking for a more heavy-duty spring for the rear that will aid the truck in towing and provide a more heavy-duty lifespan in comparison to the stock spring. Now, I would like to call out that these are going to add different lift heights for different generations. So if you have a 2005 to 2015 model, you'll be looking at 2 3/4 inches of lift, as it says in the name. But for the 2016 and newer models, you're going to be looking at about 2 inches of lift in the rear. Nonetheless, these are going to be a great addition to a leveling kit or any lift kit that you've added in the front, doing a good job at leveling out the rear while also having a heavy-duty build. Again, these are especially great for anybody who's doing a lot of towing with their Tacoma and who's going to have a lot of loaded weight in the bed. So if you're doing a lot of overlanding with your truck or have a lot of gear in the back, or you're just towing a camper or a dolly, these springs are going to get the job done while also providing really good ride quality. Now, these are designed for a heavy, constant 660-pound load and will have draw-tapered and diamond-cut leaves to ensure that the load is evenly distributed over a larger surface area, which is going to reduce the high stress. These will also have a military wrap for added safety, and it's going to have the inner leaf anti-friction pad. That's going to reduce any friction where the load is the greatest, increasing the spring life over time. Now, not to mention, this will also have a flat axle seat, which is going to allow a safe mounting point on the axle and reduce any stress. Again, just one more thing that's going to add some life to your springs. Now, I would like to mention that these are going to be sold individually, so you also will need to purchase a separate spring, or a second spring, should I say, and you also are going to need some supporting mods in order to install these on your truck. As you can see, the spring that I have here is obviously just going to come by itself sitting on the table, but you will need bushings to install in either side of the leaf, and you're also going to need some longer U-bolts, considering that this is going to be stacked a little bit higher. Now, Old Man Emu does offer those separately, and they are quite affordable, so I would just keep that in mind when you're taking a look at this choice in particular. Now, with that being said, this choice is going to come in at right around $350. Now, again, if you are going to purchase two, which you most likely will, since this does come with only one, you will be looking at about $600 for two roughly. However, again, I think that that's definitely worth the price for what you're going to get out of these leaf springs. These are going to be a heavy-duty version of the Old Man Emu Dakar springs, so if you don't necessarily need all the extra load capacity for the leaf spring like this option, those are going to be a great choice. We do offer those in the same specification in a non-heavy-duty version. Then there are other choices on the page that will offer a add-a-leaf option that will add some height but not necessarily beef up the leaf spring. So in my personal opinion, I think if you're looking for a full leaf spring replacement, if your factory leaf springs are just not holding up, or you're looking for a substantial upgrade in the load capacity and longevity of the leaf spring, then these are going to be a great choice for your Tacoma. Now, when it comes to install, this is going to get a 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, and I am going to give it a little bit of a stronger 2 out of 3 wrenches, taking you about 2 hours to get the job done if you know what you're doing when it comes to replacing your leaf springs. Now, you'll need some basic hand tools, including a basic socket set ranging from 10 millimeters all the way up to 22, a standard wrench set, a ratchet or an impact wrench, a dead blow, and a torque wrench to make sure that everything is torqued down to spec at the end, as well as a breaker bar for a little bit of elbow grease. Now, speaking of the install, one of our customers here at Extreme Terrain has completed this on his Tacoma and is going to walk you right through all of the steps you need to get done in order to get these onto your truck. So enough from me, let's go ahead and hop into the install.
All right, here is the list of tools that we used. So different socket wrenches. We have a size 13 millimeter for the emergency brake line supports, 17 millimeter for the shock mounting bolt, the lower one, and then a 14 millimeter for the top bolt. Also needs an adjustable wrench or something else, but that's what we used. It worked pretty well. The U-bolts, we used the 22 millimeter socket. We also kind of did some makeshift stuff with the tools that we had, but I recommend a long 22 millimeter socket to get at those bolts. There's a dead blow hammer, which was useful to use a punch or just to knock out the pins for the shackles. Oh, and then on the bottom of the shock bolt, There is a torque wrench to tighten up things. So for the shackles it was 87 foot-pounds, the lower shock mount was 45 foot-pounds. Then there was just a couple of little accessories to go along with the sockets, and then the breaker bar to help with the U-bolts.
All right, well, I am going to install these new springs. So I've already taken the tire and wheels off of the Tacoma and jacked it up. Took off the spare so I had a little bit more room underneath the truck. So first I'm going to disconnect the emergency brake line bracket to give a little bit more wiggle room, and I'm using a 13 millimeter socket. This one does have an extension on it. The bracket does for when I had a blocks installed for my first lift. All right, there is that. Now I'm going to move over to the shocks. So 17 millimeter, and I'm using a ratcheted wrench. I'm not sure what else it's called. All right, taking that out. Great. And I'm going to use the dead blow hammer. You see this okay? That came out a whole lot easier than I was anticipating. It's also nice to have a punch to knock the pin out. I had to do that for the other side. So, and then you need to get something like an adjustable wrench to hold it on top here. Can you see this okay? Loosen it up. All right, and I'm actually, as part of this job today, I'm going to be replacing these shocks with something a little bit longer, using the Old Man Emu longer shocks to accompany the new springs. So now the shock should pop out. And the new shocks come with new bushings, so we can just put these to the side. All right, so the shocks are disconnected, and now I need to take out the U-bolts. Notice that I did have a block in here for a little bit of a lift, and I recommend strongly against it. It was very rough ride, and the new U-bolts that came with the block were longer than the Tacoma's originals, and I'm not sure exactly how to best go about getting the bolts out because the bolts are quite long. So I have kind of been using this catalytic converter 7/8 thing. I'm not even sure what it's called, but I think that this is a 22 millimeter, the equivalent. It needs to be something really extended to get over these bolts. And when we're reinstalling these, we want to kind of go in an alternating order so that they're adjusted symmetrically. This one. More of the same. nice having the other side loosened up now. Bolts out, so where some of it can come out. Pull off these U-bolts, and the bump stop can also come off. Ours was modified because we also have these airbags up here. Anyway, that was just part of the installation process. And great. So I think that the next part will be unbolting the leaf springs. You can pause it. All right. 19 millimeter ratcheting socket wrench, or whatever this is called. This one is a little bit tricky because of the gas reservoir. So bolt off the other side of this side of the shackle mount. It is going to be a challenge to try to figure out how to get that bolt out because of the limited space because of the gas can. We'll move to the back shackle mount. My experience is that while it's in place, we want to loosen up both the top and the bottom one. But mostly we want to make sure we remove the bottom part. And I'll leave that there while I loosen the top one. All right, and this one is out. Alright, and then that punch, which you could also use when you were taking out the shock. I had put this jack stand here in case it would drop down, but I guess that's not the way it would be since all of these things are under tension. It actually bounced up a little bit, so you want to be careful, I guess, where you put your hands, that they don't get pinched when this bounces back up. You can see that the other side of this bolt is super close to the gas can. So, you know, I would use a deadbolt or something on that side, and I'm not quite sure what to do. But I think I just discovered what I can do. So I'm going to use a handy bar, a flat bar, to try to pop this side of it. There we go. All right. Looks like that's going to do it. Right, now the spring is released, still under a lot of tension, and bound up over on this side. So I think we're gonna have to drop the axle a little bit. That might work. There we go. Okay. Spring is released. All right. And so now we're going to remove the rest of the shackle here. Just have to remember which way is loosened. There we go. All right. So we need to apply some grease to the bushings, which you do need to order separately from Old Man Emu. Yeah, and you can definitely see the difference between the stock leaf springs and the Old Man Emu. So we're going to put this shackle back on. And I should have paid closer attention, but just had to compare to the other side of how this goes back together, and get the bolt. Washer. What does this one go to?
These get torqued at 87 pounds. And when it clicks like that, it's done.
This is definitely the part where you need an extra hand muscling this larger leaf spring into place. What do you need?
It's got to go up my side.
So though the first one was pointing in to match the other side, this bolt is coming out this way. Snug it up. I'm just going to leave it at that. And then go do the same for the front. That is snug, but not tight. We're going to come back through and torque it to weight. Back on tires, and we're this goes to 83 foot-pounds. tacking the new bolts, holding in the bump stop. And then go back through and tighten up real tight. So now I am putting this new shock in, Old Man Emu Nitrocharger Sport. Was what was recommended for these new leaf springs. So I'm gonna get this going in there. All right, looks pretty good. Bolt goes. All right, 17 millimeter. And I'm just gonna snug it down, and then it needs to be underweight to be tightened down to the right dimension.
When your torque wrench clicks like that, that means you're at your correct torque. And that one is done.
All right, now that the springs and everything is under weight, I'm going ahead and tighten this thing down.
So that is going to wrap it up for my review and install of the Old Man Emu Dakar heavy load rear leaf spring for 2 3/4 inches of lift, fitting all 2005 and newer 6-lug Toyota Tacomas. Now make sure to like and subscribe for more product videos and install videos just like this, and make sure to always keep it right here at extremeterrain.com.